As with our introduction to nonfiction a few weeks ago, watching these short videos is meant to be a supplement to, not a substitute for, reading Writing Poetry, which is the first chapter in our required textbook, Creative Writing, 4 Genres in Brief, by David Starkey. Let's start by building a shared vocabulary of poetic terms, which we can then use to talk about our poems and our classmates' poems. To begin building our shared vocabulary, let's talk about a couple crucial differences between prose, which is the category of writing that includes fiction and nonfiction, and poetry. Whereas the primary unit of prose is the sentence, the primary unit of poetry is the line. Only occasionally are lines complete sentences. Lines that do have a period at the end are called end-stopped. Lines that run on are called enjambed. While sentences in prose are organized into paragraphs, lines in poetry are organized into stanzas. For an illustration of these fundamental differences in formatting, take a look at the copy of Robert Frost's poem Mending Wall that comes later in this module. In this file, I've included an alternative version of the poem retyped as a piece of prose. That is, I've exchanged the lines organized into stanzas for sentences organized into paragraphs. The poets who composed ancient epics, such as Homer, who wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey, used rhyme and rhythm as aids for memorizing their poems, which were recited out loud. Many of the conventions of poetry still reflect these roots in the oral tradition, that is, in spoken language. Rhyme is most often created by ending 2 or more lines in a poem with matching sounds. True rhymes begin with accented vowels and continue through the ends of words. 2 other poetic conventions that, like rhyme, are related to the sounds of words are consonants and assonants. To create consonants, which is also known as alliteration, poets repeat consonant sounds. To create assonants, poets repeat vowel sounds. Rhythm is most often created by repeating a pattern of stressed syllables and unstressed syllables. Each unit of stressed and unstressed syllables is called a foot. For a few hundred years now, the most common foot in English poetry has been the iamb, which consists of 1 unstressed syllable and 1 stressed syllable. These feet are then arranged in lengths, such as pentameter. The most common meter in English poetry is Iambic Pentameter, which consists of 5 feet of iambs. An example of this is the first line of Frost's poem Mending Wall. Something there is that doesn't love a wall. Many contemporary poets choose not to employ metered verse, such as Iambic Pentameter. Instead, they write in free verse, which has no preset structure of stressed and unstressed syllables. For an example of a contemporary poem written in free verse, please see Sharon Olds' I Go Back to May 1937, which is also included in this module. So these will be the basic poetic terms in our shared vocabulary: lines, stanzas, end-stop lines, enjambed lines, rhyme, rhythm, foot, length, metered verse, free verse, consonants, and assonants.